we use the word grammar, you know, to give status to, you know, it was just a political move in a way, and to give status to, on the one hand, to give status to a description, you know, and the study of visual, but on the other hand, very early on, in the very first version of reading images, which was circulating in Sydney only at the time, there was a colleague, a philosopher, who now has just retired, but who wrote to us in some dismay about what he read, because he said, you know, you're making lots of rules where no rules existed. You know, art was, creating images was free. You're making all these rules. And indeed, you know, I sometimes get, he was right. You know, our grammar also was making rules. We might not have thought it, but you know, I was in Sydney in a high school in the west of Sydney, where because it was a very tough and rough high school, and the head of that school, you know, was on one of my committees when I was dean of the faculty of education, amongst other things. So I went to that school, and to my astonishment, there were charts about reading images, charts on the wall, you know, that told you what to do, where things would go and how things would be made, and that were recipes and prescriptions. So this Paul Gillen, this philosopher, you know, he saw what grammar was, you know, whereas for us it was, I suppose, a move to give status to, you know, and to describe, etc. But actually, in practice, it might have, it does also codify. And I'm not totally against it. I do think, you know, I have said that if we have to have some agreement, you know, about visual communication. You know, it's too important now, you know, not to make some rules. Rules of interpretation as well as rules of making, you know, for the sake of clarity, and in relation to the profusion of visual representations with diagrams and so on, it's often very ill thought through and ill explained and not taught, you know. Clarification is necessary, so even if it is at the expense in some domains of creativity. And anyway, ultimately, you know, I don't even believe in that opposition. You know, language has many rules, and poems have nevertheless been written, you know. So we can make visual rules and art can still be made.